A lot of you asked what things were like in England, for example, at that time. Interested or yeah, no? Ask me a question or do something. Okay, it's late in the day. Okay. Okay, the next thing that we did of any consequence, especially, we did all kinds of patrol in the Atlantic. Now, there was, at that time, the Germans had invented a midget submarine that was very, very fast and very maneuverable. And we were very worried about it because they could, once a sub or anything can maneuver that fast, it's very hard for surface vessels to catch them. So we found out where they were training crews on these midget subs. And they were training them at a place called Bornholm Island. And if I hadn't been in the war, I would never have found out that Bornholm Island even existed, let alone where it was. And I'm sure none of you have ever heard of it. So I want you to remember that I told you about Bornholm Island. And Bornholm Island is that little speck right there, just south of Sweden. And we were stationed by, we had moved from here up to Scotland. We were now near Dundee. After D-Day, we moved up there, our squadron. Why did we go to Bornholm Island? Because they were training these guys on these midget subs. So, we did 2 patrols, and we flew at 50 feet in that great big bomber, and that's tough to keep that kind of plane up in the air at 50 feet to avoid radar detection. The Germans were in in Norway, right? And then we flew from Norway over Sweden. And that was a special event. Sweden was neutral. You know what that means? Anybody know? I'm going to ask questions. Neutral. What's neutral?
They're not on either side.
Beg pardon?
They're not on either side.
That's right. They weren't with the Germans or with us. Spain was like that too, and of course Switzerland always. Spain was also neutral. And so we knew that when we were going to fly over Sweden, they were going to fire at us with their anti-aircraft guns. But it was mandatory that neutral countries do that. So we were told they would fire at you so you'd know you were on course. Anyway, so the other exciting thing about Switzerland, all their lights were on. It was marvelous at night. I hadn't seen lights on for almost 2 years because Britain was blacked out every night. It was really great seeing the streets. And so we hit the island. We sunk a few E-boats, 1 or 2 of those little subs, and that was it. We escaped from there, flying back to what is known as the Skagerrak and the Kattegat, and where there was all the German fighters at that time of the war were there because we had moved, Anyway, we were lucky to get out and back home, but it was very, very exciting. They were the most important trips that I did during the war. It was very important. They told us, so we did what we were told, and we got rid of those midget subs. The other thing that happened on that, can I find it? I don't know. Anyway, we wore a flag. During that time of the war, the British, the Allied armies had come over here, and the Russian armies had come over here. And they used to call each other every day to let each other know where they were and where they expected to be. And here, we were here, right near the Russians. So they gave us a British flag with Russian language on it.
so that if we had to jump out or ditch in the water, they'd know that we're on their side, not the German side. It had Russian language on it.
No questions yet?